In the spring of 1924, Mount Everest was still largely unknown territory. No satellite images, no fixed ropes, no bottled oxygen systems refined by decades of trial and error. What George Mallory and Andrew Sandy Irvine faced on the mountain's north side was not just altitude and cold, but uncertainty about the route, the weather, and whether the human body could even survive that high. They went anyway. Their disappearance during that final climb has lingered for a century, not because it was unusual for Everest to kill climbers, but because of where they were last seen, what they were carrying, and what was never found afterward. In 2024, when a documentary crew discovered a boot containing a human foot melting out of the ice, that century-old story abruptly shifted from theory back into physical reality. The 1924 British Everest expedition was the third attempt to climb the mountain, and it was the most serious yet. Mallory was already a veteran of earlier expeditions. He understood the terrain, the risks, and the limits of the equipment. Irvine, only 22, was younger and less experienced at altitude, but he was mechanically gifted. He had helped modify the expedition's oxygen apparatus, making him a key part of the summit attempt. On June 8, 1924, Mallory and Irvine left their high camp for a final push. They carried oxygen cylinders, ice axes, rope, and a small Kodak vest pocket camera. The camera mattered more than anyone realized at the time. If they reached the summit, it would provide the first photographic proof of a successful ascent. They were seen once more that day. Noel Odell, watching from below, caught sight of two figures moving upward near the northeast ridge, climbing strongly before clouds closed in. It was the last confirmed observation of them alive. They never returned. Death on Everest is rarely dramatic in the way it is imagined. It is usually slow, cumulative, and quiet. The body weakens as oxygen levels drop. Simple decisions become difficult. Coordination fails. A stumble that would be harmless at lower altitude can become fatal when recovery is impossible. When climbers die that high, rescue is often not an option. Carrying a body down through technical terrain in the death zone risks more lives than it saves. As a result, Everest has become a place where the dead remain where they fall. Cold changes everything. At extreme altitude, decomposition slows almost to nothing. Skin dries instead of rotting. Clothing stiffens. Bodies remain recognizable for decades. Mallory and Irvine vanished into that environment, and for 75 years, neither was seen again. In 1999, Mallory's body was discovered by an expedition searching the North Face. He was found face down, his clothing torn, his leg broken. Rope marks around his waist suggested he had been tied to Irvine, possibly during a descent. At some point, the rope appears to have snapped or been cut during a fall. The position of his body indicated he had fallen a long distance. What mattered just as much as what was found was what was missing. Mallory carried personal items, but not the photograph of his wife, Ruth, that he had promised to leave on the summit. Its absence raised immediate questions. Had he reached the top? Had he left it there? There was no way to know. Andrew Irvine, meanwhile, remained completely lost. For decades, historians focused on one detail. Irvine had the camera. If any object could definitively answer whether the summit had been reached, it was that small metal box. Kodak engineers later confirmed that the film might still be developable if it had remained frozen. The problem was simple. No one could find Irvine. The north face of Everest is vast, steep, and unstable. Avalanches rearrange the mountain. Ice flows slowly downhill, burying and later revealing what lies beneath. Search teams combed likely fall lines, but year after year found nothing. Until climate change began to alter the mountain. In 2024, a National Geographic-affiliated documentary crew working on Everest's north side noticed something unusual emerging from melting ice. At first glance, it looked like debris. On closer inspection, it was clearly human-made, an old leather climbing boot. Inside it was a foot. The boot's style matched equipment used by British climbers in the early 20th century. The sock inside was consistent with materials known to have been worn by the 1924 expedition. The location aligned with a projected fall route that some historians had long believed Irvine may have taken. While definitive identification takes time, experts quickly concluded that the remains were almost certainly Andrew Irvine's. For the first time in a century, physical evidence of Irvine's fate had surfaced. The discovery did not reveal how he died, but it narrowed the possibilities. He was not lost to a crevasse far from the route. He was not completely destroyed by an avalanche. He fell, and his body remained on the mountain, slowly moving with the ice over decades until it reached the surface. The boot was found higher on the mountain than Mallory's body. That detail matters. If Irvine fell from higher elevation, it suggests he may have survived longer or climbed higher than Mallory. It strengthens the argument that the pair may have reached or come extremely close to the summit before disaster struck during their descent. But the most important question remained unanswered. The camera was not found. As of now, no trace of Irvine's camera has been recovered. The boot was an isolated find, not part of a larger set of remains. It is possible that the rest of his body is still buried nearby, locked in ice that has not yet shifted. It is also possible that the camera was separated from him during the fall and lies elsewhere on the mountain. Everest does not release its dead all at once. The camera, if it still exists, would be one of the most significant artifacts in exploration history. A single photograph could rewrite the accepted timeline of Everest's first ascent, moving it back nearly 30 years. It would also mean that Mallory and Irvine achieved their goal without ever knowing it would matter. But the absence of evidence cuts both ways. Without the camera, certainty remains impossible. What the boot does provide is clarity about the cost of that climb. Irvine was 22 years old, climbing with equipment that would now be considered dangerously inadequate. Oxygen systems were unreliable. Clothing was heavy and poorly insulated by modern standards. Weather forecasting was primitive. They were operating at the edge of what was physically possible. Everest did not change. Humans did. Later climbers would benefit from improved gear, better understanding of altitude sickness, and fixed routes established by repeated attempts. Mallory and Irvine had none of that. They climbed into unknown terrain, trusting instinct, endurance, and limited technology. When something went wrong, there was no margin for error. The discovery of Irvine's boots is not a triumphant resolution. It does not confirm success or failure. It does not answer the central question of the summit. What it does is collapse the distance between past and present. This is no longer a story told only through grainy photographs and expedition journals. It is a physical reminder that the mountain still holds the people who challenged it first. As glaciers continue to melt, more remains will likely surface. Everest is changing, and in doing so, it is revealing the history it once buried. Whether Irvine's camera will ever be found remains unknown. It could emerge next year, decades from now, or never at all. Until then, the story remains unresolved, not because it lacks evidence, but because the final proof is still frozen somewhere above the clouds. 100 years later, the climb of Mallory and Irvine is no longer just a mystery. It is an ongoing recovery. If you liked this story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel, and let me know in the comments, would you climb Mount Everest? Thanks for watching.